is an interesting instrument. Once again, a German piano. Maybe not the great big Ronish upright grands that we were looking at earlier, but a creditable instrument from one of the many second-tier makers who made beautiful instruments, didn't gain the recognition perhaps that they should have. And we must remember a lot of this recognition too was clever public relations. We think PR is a new phenomenon, but back in the heyday of the German piano makers, everyone was trying to get an edge on the other manufacturers, new features of their instruments, different tone and different features on the cabinets. You know, it was tremendous competition, but all the while too driving the development of the piano. So we have the great makers, the Richard Lips, Becksteins and all those joyful pianos, but almost immediately under there is a whole plethora of fine makers, quality instruments that have survived here in Australia like they haven't in the very countries where they were made. Our climatic conditions have allowed a lot of that too, and the care that our piano tuners and technicians over the decades have lavished on these instruments for people. A great number of highly trained people, some of them from the Blind Institute too, you'll recall, who have serviced these instruments not only in the metropolitan parts of Australia but all through the bush, sometimes calling in only once every year or two to attend to these pianos. But their care has meant that these instruments in many instances have survived, and people such as myself, now we have the joy, and it is a joy, of taking these instruments that have survived basically and replacing all the perishable parts, the strings and felts and keys and things like that, but basically rebuilding a mint condition instrument that survived those whirlwind years perhaps out in the bush. Now this instrument, weidig. You won't pay a fortune for a piano like this. These are good, hard-working instruments at a moderate price. And an instrument like this, a nice under-damper concert pitch piano, you might spend, say, between $3,000 and $4,000 for a piano like this. But rebuilt, they'll go on and give a couple of generations of hard work for a family. And lovely to play. A bit nicer than a lot of the Asian pianos that we have to deal with. An instrument like this, once it's brought to your home, we use professional carriers who are marvellous. They come and collect the piano here from this little workshop or shop, wherever it happens to be, and it's loaded up carefully, 2 men with the correct trolleys and ramps, big piano covers. They get the piano to your home very, very safely. So that they are another component of the piano industry who we should pay some tribute to. Our piano carriers who are constantly moving around cities and country areas, relocating pianos for people. Heavy instruments, sometimes there are steps and stairs involved, but there's great people who've got a lot of empathy for the instruments themselves too. They learn that from their early days. So our piano carriers